Black.
Like this I ride, turn the music up to keep from crying. Wait till that sunshine. Please don't let the darkness keep me low. Halfway to the home base, yeah. Like a field trip, whoa. It's a real trip. And over your head, it's a guilt trip, yeah. To the south side, wow. It's a real trip. It's not a quick trip. It stays with ya. Love taxes, it's a real trip. On nights like this I ride, turn the music up to keep from crying. Wait till the sunshine. Please don't let the darkness keep me low. Halfway to the home base, yeah. Like a field trip, whoa. It's a real trip. I'm asking who can save me? You can't bait me. You can't bait me. Who can save me? No, they
Hello, 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 loves. You are tuned in to WURD Radio. This is Safe Space, and I'm your host, Sincerely Sarita. Today is Tuesday, March 16th. We are already halfway through the month 2021, a perfect day to turn our intentions into action through conversation. Shout out to all the folks who are tuned in and ready to do just that. Those of you who are listening in on 96.1 FM and 900 AM, streaming Word TV on wordradio.com and Facebook Live, YouTube and Twitch, all that good stuff. And of course, everyone who's listening in crystal clear on the free Word app, which is available in the Apple app and Google Play Store. So if you haven't already, go ahead, download that, get it done. If you are tuned in on Word TV via Facebook Live, please do go on ahead and tap that share button, start a watch party. If you don't know already, we're not just here to save space. We're totally okay with taking up and owning some too, especially in these internet streets, most definitely on these airwaves, okay? That's just what we do around here. And we do that confidently, okay? Today is Thankful Tuesday. So you know what to do. Call in now. Let us know who or what you are thankful for today. The hotline number is 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065. You can also call in toll free, 866-361-0900. Again, 866-361-0900. Want to know who or what you are thankful for today. We practice gratitude around here. If that is something in this moment or wherever you may find yourself at in life that is foreign to you, that's okay. It's no judgment, no nothing of the sort. But, we just want to encourage you to think about at least one thing or one person that you are thankful for and that, has made a difference in your life. I was just having a conversation with a friend recently about this idea of being self-made. And that's never really sat well with me because it's just, no matter how you cut it, it's just not true. It's not possible, in my opinion, to be self-made. It's never just you. It takes a team. It takes, at bare minimum, some other folks conspiring with you or working with you to manifest the vision that you have in your head, or whatever it is that you want for your life or for an industry or whatever else the case may be. So we don't, we like to save space for gratitude and for, all that comes with that, and all of the folks who come with that, and the real conversations that also come with that. And we're going to have quite a bit of that tonight. So I am personally thankful that I get to do the show with my girl, Kayla J., who's holding down the phone lines, the board, and everything in between. Um, Kayla J, how you doing today, love? You already know I'm gonna ask who or what you're thankful for today. So that is what it is. How you doing?
You know, I'm doing all right, Sarita. I am doing as good as a person can be doing, I think, today. And Siri wanted to answer too. Uh,
Okay, sir, come through. Okay, we ain't mad
uh,
at it.
but no, I'm doing all right today. Today was a pretty all right day for me. I felt cute. I even posted a selfie. I haven't taken one of those in months.
You better do that.
Yeah, I had my second guitar lesson today, and I made a lot of progress. Learned 5 chords, so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about who or what I'm thankful for today, I have to truly say that I am thankful for the life, the legacy of Miss Emma Chappelle.
Mm.
I had the opportunity of being her producer when she got here to WURD, and affectionately called her and the rest of the BWLC my Golden Girls, uh, because they were like mamas to me, and they loved on me so much. They When I tried to date a little somebody, they checked them out, and when I got ordained, they came to my church services. They called me birthday presents, Christmas presents. They helped me when I was going to Detroit. Just a lot of things that she did that no one knew. And I'm grateful for her and her legacy and her life. And I would truly miss her. But that's who I'm thankful for today. I'm thankful for Miss Emma and all that she poured into me over these past 3 years here at WURD. It's not often that someone gets to say they worked with legends, you know, and I'm truly grateful to say that I was able to work with her and learn at her feet. You know, hear her stories of how she grew United Bank, and you know how she lobbied, and her stories of her at the White House with Clinton. And she was a character, and I loved her.
Yeah. So for you, and you know, we were texting already ahead of this conversation and going live on air. Um, and one of the things that, at least for me, I wanted to make sure I conveyed to you was that, um, you know, number one, just prayers of comfort and strength for you, having worked closely with her, and for all of those who did, and even in their own ways continue to, and of course to her family and friends, um, but also just thinking about the impact, right? That no matter what we do or what we experience, that thankfully we do get to do that together,
Yeah,
because we the whole text message was, the thread was a part of the reality of, oh, we're about to go live on air in literally a matter of minutes,
yeah,
and learning about this information, and what what is it that we truly owe our listeners, and that we we have to make sure we do and take responsibility for in this moment, after, over more what, more than a year of working together, um but months of telling folks this and asking folks to save space. And save space for what? And what does that look like? And what does that feel like on the best of days and the worst of days? When you work with legends, when you've encountered folks that you don't know, what does that mean? How do you show up? How do you persevere in spite of? So I don't take it lightly that I know for you, and correct me in love, of course, if any of this is wrong, but I know for you, this moment is, it's like that perseverance factor of, like,
yeah,
despite what I'm feeling.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I, I got to show up.
Yep. Yeah, because one thing she even said, even when she didn't feel like doing things, she knew she had to show up. You know, when the bank was struggling, she still had to show up and get the big bucks, as she used to say, because she knew the community needed her. And right now,
Mm,
our community needs us. They need to save space for the conversations we're going to have. So, despite the tears, despite, the heartbreak, I got to show up. I got to keep
mm,
walking in my purpose.
yeah. And for, of course, any folks who may just be learning of Miss Emma's legacy and life in this moment, she was founder and CEO of the United Bank of Philadelphia, the first African American woman to form a commercial bank in the U.S., and the first female or woman vice president of a major bank in the state of Pennsylvania. So, this is Women's History Month, and
Right.
that in itself comes with, its own, oh Lord, its own layered conversations and whatever else the case may be. But we talking about a black woman who was trailblazing, um, has trailblazed
Hmm.
in so many different ways, on so many different levels. And I was listening to, I've been listening to some of the conversations that have been taking place here on the station and other mediums and whatnot. And the way in which folks attempt to approach a conversation about women who are in business and leadership positions is always very interesting to me. And what I'll say is, I'm going to need y'all to put a little bit more respect on who we are,
And I need
not
y'all to
just
put a
our
lot of
names,
respect on it.
on who we are, on how we show up in the spaces that we lead in, that we occupy, that we work in, whatever else the case may be. Let us not forget that when you choose to hold conversations in any regard about how a woman chooses to show up in her full self, that she's doing so no matter black, white, or whatever, literally against all odds. Because in far too many societies, that's not a woman's place. And I'm thankful that as a black woman, I have so many examples, so many folks who walked the walk, walked the walk, talked the talk. They did it. They showed up. And Miss Emma was certainly one of them. Um, in spite of all of that, and showed that whatever preconceived notions or stereotypes that you wanted to assign to women didn't matter. It was about the work. It was about the commitment to change and impact, right? It was about
Hmm.
showing up and who you are and what you were there to do. And I don't know about anyone else who knew her or knew of her, who may just be learning of her, but when it comes down to the get down, for me, that's what it is. It's on us to carry forward, to make sure that you're gonna have conversations about what we do and how we do it, that you put some respect on it, that you put some humanity on it,
Hmm.
right? And that, mm, okay, the OG in me won't come out, and I don't need all that. I just, nonetheless, love and appreciation to all those um, who are processing the news, who are mourning, right? And knowing that, especially here at WURD, um, man, we we didn't had a stretch
Yeah.
of folks who have transitioned at this point, and Nick spoke to that prior to safe space. He spoke to that, whether it was Joey, um, just ooh, a stretch,
Mhm.
and that is what it is. That's the reality of life. It's a part of life. Our responsibility now is what did their lives mean for us, and how are we showing up better in what we do and who we are as a result of having been impacted by their legacies and by their lives. Um, so if you knew Miss Emma, please do call in if you were touched by her light. If you, um, you know, ever ever got to experience her spunk and her, um, just her impact. Let's honor her, um, and send her off into the next chapter of her being a spiritual being, having a human experience. Right, send her off into the next chapter, knowing that, well done, you did your thing, Ms. Emma, and we love you and we appreciate you and we respect you and we honor you for all that you gave, not only to our community but to our city, and to humanity in general. So please do call in 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065. You can also call in toll free 866-361-0900. Again, 866-361-0900. It's just about time for us to take a quick break. Looking forward to tonight's lineup. If you've been tuning in not only earlier this week, yesterday, or the past week, we got an important show, important conversations that's going to be happening tonight at 7:30. We're checking in with David Alexander Jenkins, talking pop culture, likely royals, all of that good stuff. And then at 8 p.m., WURD's own Amadi Braxton will join us for an in-depth conversation about her op-ed for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And that op-ed focused on the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, the 24-hour clinic. Amadi's take was that it's not so much of a feel-good story, right? That's what she shared in the op-ed, and we'll get into a bit of why that is her perspective. But she's received sharp criticism about that op-ed and her decision to share her experience. If you tuned in to the show last week, you likely heard on Thursday Ernest Owens, who is the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists and editor-at-large for Philadelphia Magazine, share a bit of his response to that op-ed, which spurred the need to reach out to Amadi, and get her take, get her context on her op-ed and what contributed to it, right? Like what brought it about. So looking forward to some really great discussions tonight, but definitely also always saving space for gratitude. So call in, let us know who or what you are thankful for today. 215-634-8065 and toll free 866-361-0900. And while we're on break, go ahead and head over to wordradio.com or wordworks.com, because we have our Level Up contest that is running, and we extended the deadline for you to be able to nominate a Black woman who is an entrepreneur or innovator who has a business that you love and want to make sure that other folks love too. So you can head there, click the Level Up Contest banner, nominate her or you, if that is you, so that we can celebrate you in honor of Women's History Month. And we got some exciting stuff planned all throughout the month of March, culminating with the pitch party on March 31st. So you don't want to miss that. But also you don't want to miss this deadline that has been extended to this Friday, March 19th. So make sure you get that handled while we're on break. Okay? I'm your host, Sincerely Sarita. This is Safe Space on WURD Radio. And we'll be back after these messages.
We do all we can to ensure our kids are happy, healthy, safe, and strong. Having high-quality, low-cost health insurance helps make that possible. With CHIP, your child can have medical, dental, eye care, and more for free or low cost. Whether you're self-employed, unemployed, or your employee benefits are just too expensive, CHIP is there for you to help your child be strong. CHIP Strong. Apply or renew today at 800-986-KIDS or go to chipcoverspakids.com.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's new monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. For April, WURD Radio is partnering with the Free Library of Philadelphia and showcasing their pick for its annual citywide reading program, One Book, One Philadelphia, entitled The Tradition by Jericho Brown. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it. Tuesday, April 13th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color. Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. Right now on WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Independent Black Media.
As I lay me down, heaven hear me now. I'm lost without a cause after giving it my all. Winter storms have come and darkened my sun. After all that I've been through, who on earth can I turn to? I look to you, I look to you. After all my strength is gone, in you I can be strong. I look to you. Fighting left, sinking to rise no more, searching for that open door. And every road that I've taken led to my regret. look to you. I look to you. After all my strength is gone, in you I can be strong. I look to you. I look to you. Yeah. And when melodies are gone, and you are hear a song, I look to you. Yeah. I look to you.
You're muted.
Kiss the back of my neck bone. Make it hot like Louisiana hot sauce. Shoot, that's soul food. Stinking like chitlins.
Sweet like sweet potato pie, like collard greens and yams on the side. I'm full from top to the bottom, and this ain't no lie. I'm hot like Mississippi, burning in the middle of July. And I'm saying, whoa, 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 soul food love, whoa, you got me saying, whoa, 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 sip me up like lemonade from a mason jar. Make it good like some chicken fried in a pan of lard. I'm getting spoiled like the beans, and I can't lose my head. 'Cause when you're not around, I'm crumbling like cornbread. Like whoa, 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 soul food love, whoa. You got me saying whoa, 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 mm-hmm. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Greetings, yes. Yes.
You are listening to Safe Space on WURD Radio 96.1 FM 900 AM. I am your host, Sincerely Sarita. I see we have some callers on the line, so we're going to go ahead, get to all of our callers, make sure we clear out the phone lines before we welcome our next guest, or our first guest of the evening, I should say, David Alexander Jenkins. So let's go to Diane on line 2. Diane, thank you so much for choosing to save space with us today. How are you, love, and what's on your mind? We got you. Go on.
Dr. Chappelle, Emma Chappelle, she was a great, great woman. I mean, I remember when she opened up her bank in the 1990s, and my church, my pastor at the time, he passed away, but he said, we're going to support the Black Bank, United Bank, and she was for the people. She was really for the people, and I mean, I am just so sad about her, the loss of her. She's going to be truly, truly missed. I listened to the Black woman, they come on Wednesday.
The Leadership Council, Black Women's Leaders. Yep.
And I just enjoy hearing her every Wednesday. I look forward to hearing her, Joanne and Rita, and my condolences go out to Joanne and Rita and the phone face. I'm sorry. The family of WURD, Sarah, and all the employees of WURD, and her family. But she's going to be truly missed. She was a good woman. She stood up for what's right, and I'm really going to miss Dr. Emma Chappelle. And she was so humble. She was so humble, you know. And most people that have a doctor name, they want you to call them a doctor, you know. But she didn't care. You could call her Emma, and she didn't even care. So she was a humble woman, and she's going to be missed. And we heard her last week, and she sounded like she was sick, but I didn't know that she was that sick, and she was still fighting for us, you know. You know, she was in rehab, but she was still on the phone fighting for us. She's going to be missed, Sarita. She's going to be missed. And
absolutely,
I want to say to KOJ, I listen to her on Saturday night, and she keep me up all night with that good music. And her preaching, I mean, she's doing so wonderful. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. And you too, Sarita, and you two young ladies, keep up the good work what you're doing. God bless you and your family.
Thank you, Miss Diane. Let's go to Tyrone on line 3. Brother Tyrone, thank you so much for choosing a safe space with us today. What's on your mind?
Well, peace and blessings to you, my love, and much love and respect to my WURD family. You know, Miss Chappelle was just such a blessing, you know, to me, and she did tremendous work for our organization, Committee for a Better North Philadelphia. But I just want to share one quick moment. When I think it was the push, when they had their celebration and they had brought Bill Cosby and Jesse Jackson in town for an evening concert with Bill Cosby. And at the event, Ms. Chappelle and our organization, we were pretty much, new to Ms. Chappelle. But Ms. Chappelle was such a gracious host. She introduced me to almost everybody in the room. And I'm just telling you, just to be in the room with Bill Cosby and Jesse Jackson and his wife and Carmela and it just seemed like a little family get together. And I'm telling you, that was not only one of the most inspirational nights of my life, but also it kind of put our organization, Committee for a Better North Philadelphia, on the map. So to Miss Chappelle and her family, I just wanted to thank her, you know, immensely for just being who she was. When my nephew received his payment for his accident, we opened up his account at United Bank, and she was always gracious. She was always gracious, always humble, and just again wanted like Cody, you know, just that smile. You know, that smile is just it made you light up.
Infectious.
It made you light up. So I just want to let the world know that we lost a giant of a woman, and I just again want to thank her family for sharing her with us, and just want to thank her for all the great deeds that she did, not only in this city, but across this country and probably around the world. Thank you, my sis, for allowing me to share that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Brother Tyrone. Appreciate it as always. And want to make sure we try to get to all of our callers here. So let's go to Timothy on line 4. Timothy, thank you so much for choosing to save space with us today. And what's on your mind?
I'm going to tell you, sister, you know, Sarita and you and Carol J., you know, during Women's Month, I'm going to put you in a list of my sheroes. So I'm going to say to you, sisters, that we lost some beautiful, wonderful people from out of URD. Diamonds, rubies, and pearls, they made these transitions. Oh, boy, I'm going to miss them all. I'm going to say to you about Dr. Chappelle that I benefit from my labor. I'm going to tell you how. My first credit card I ever got came from the United Bank, from Dr. Emma Chappelle. It was called a secure credit card. From having a secure credit card and building credit, I was able to get a regular Capital One credit card. That Black Bank helped me to have a boost to get something that I needed to build my credit to get other things. And the other fruit of her labor that I benefit was she helped the man who ran for the highest office in the land, Jesse Jackson. Because of Jesse Jackson, other people had thoughts of running for president until the first African-American male became president. I mean, I think that's wonderful what the doctor did. You know what I'm saying? You know, a plan that she had that worked, a blueprint that she had that worked, and to come on URD with that Women's Council. Man, that's that program. With you ladies, you know, this is Ladies Month. You, Kara, J, Sarita, and Sarah Lomax, and all the women on URD, I got to give you some credit. You know, this platform that we have is a wonderful thing, ladies. And congratulations on Women's History Month. I'm giving you that. I'm giving you roses until I give it to you physically.
Listen, we receiving them, you know, especially during Women's History Month. Just know we here 365, 366, depending on when the year is. And anytime you feel like serving up the flowers, okay, we take them. All right. And that's and the reason why is because we know that tomorrow is not promised, and we know that regardless, quite frankly, of your gender, of your background, of your socioeconomic status, whatever it may be, what truly lasts is what you stood for. Like when you break it down to the get down, what lasts is what you stand 10 toes down for. And how blessed we are as a WURD family to have experienced as many folks as we have in so many different capacities, whether it's been that they've transitioned in the physical, career-wise, you know, whatever it may be. It's that when it was all said and done, the intention and the purpose was always focused on our community and on the betterment of humanity, right? And so we talk about standing on shoulders. We talk about making the world a better place. We talk about all of these things. Well, here at WURD, we've had the opportunity, and we continue to have the opportunity on a day-to-day basis to see that lived out in real time, to see the healing happen in real time. And this makes me think of, you know, even with Mother, you know, with Andrea Lawful Sanders and myself, who have both spoke to the transition of Leah Dawes, right? And keeping it 100 with y'all about that process, about the reality of literally having been with someone last week, supporting a Black-owned business, closing out Black History Month in that way. And then the next week, literally a week to the day, they've transitioned. And thinking about their family and thinking about all the lives that they touched and they impacted. We've had to, you know, have these conversations about Cody, you know, like about Miss Emma, like all of this continues, right? So the reality of the fact that nothing is promised to us. Nothing is promised to us. Not even time, not even the next breath. None of it is promised to us. I hope is not lost on us. And I do hope that it makes us value or at least understand the value of this platform that much more, especially when we think about our Black leaders, and more specifically, especially on Women's History Month, the Black women who have always and continue to save space for all of humanity, because that's what we birth. That's what we do, right? I don't take it lightly that my producer is having to show up in this moment in the midst of pain, just like I don't take it lightly that my godmother mentor had to show up in the midst of her pain, just like I don't take it lightly that I've had to do that same thing, just like I don't take it lightly that Solomon Jones at one point had to do that same thing when one of his son's, friends was shot and killed as, result of gun violence, right? And had to show up and think about what are we going to do and how are we going to respond and how do we take these moments that we're experiencing in real time and use it to heal, to empower, to educate, to do all of these things. And, in each of our own ways, we signed up for this. This is a part of the job. And it's also very much a part of being human. And, when we talk about saving space, it's one of the reasons why I am very much thankful that life is better when we get to do all of this together. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. So I want to make sure we get to actually welcome our guest. And I see over on WURD TV that we have a lot of comments that are coming in, and I will certainly read those and share those, especially as honor to Miss Emma and to, our beloved leaders of the Black Women's Leadership Council. I'll make sure I come to that. But I want to honor our guest time and at least try to get in a little bit of the conversation, because we talked quite a bit last week with David Alexander Jenkins about the Royals and all of these things that were unfolding as a result of Oprah's, Miss Oprah Winfrey's interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, right? The Dutch and Duchess, right, of Sussex. And since then, there have been so many revelations and memes and everything else that has possibly come out. So, David, I want to bring you in here. Thank you so much for your patience as we've all been kind of processing just the transition of someone who was truly beloved to the WURD family. But yeah, let's bring you in to talk a bit about how the past week and how things have transpired. Because it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
We were chatting and chewing over this last week, and a lot of the things that we were chatting and chewing over actually unfolded this week in Revelation. And I always say to people that we live in the internet age, right? And that means that people can Google, people will make statements, people will feel a way left or right about a situation. And what will happen is the truth unfolds itself. So we saw that George V reordered the royal family in order to pare it down so that there were not so many people, and therefore he denied in that period and forevermore that the great-grandchildren of the monarch who were not in direct line to the throne would receive titles, right? And we know that Queen Elizabeth reinstituted that her great-grandchildren, who were the siblings of those in line to the throne, would also receive titles, but that everyone else would not. So that first rumor of Meghan Markle's child was denied his title of prince because he was Black is complete and utter nonsense and crap. I just want to say it's complete and utterly untrue. There's a statute that is provided in George V's time, which is why he didn't get a title. The understanding of the marriage and the wedding before the wedding, and we got married a few days. The Archbishop of Canterbury came out and made a statement and said that it's completely untrue. It is illegal to marry people in the Church of England before their wedding date, and therefore what he did was have a conversation with Harry and Meghan in which he allowed them to recite their vows to each other and talk to each other about the wedding and walk each other through it so they were comfortable in the day, but that the marriage took place on the day. The idea that members of the royal family were racist in their comments has been spoken down to by so many people. I mean, even people within the establishment who are African American, right? So one of the Queen's pages is a lieutenant who is an African gentleman who is first in this position. This is who would have been HR, if you will, that Meghan would have gone to. Certainly his impetus for Meghan was not racially charged, as he would have seen her as one of him. You know, so a lot of things went on in that way, and I think interviews, and I wonder, and I'm going to gift it to them, that there was much said in the 3 hours which was cut out, that I'm praying would have spoke to some of these things and maybe unraveled them. Things like Samantha Markle, who's Meghan Markle's sister, who's Meghan Markle said, she hasn't seen her, hasn't talked to her, that he was never present in her life, and this, that, and the other. And then Samantha Markle posted images, one after the other, 20-some-odd images of them throughout life together and at different times when she wasn't there, that she was there. So what I want to say to it is, it was particularly interesting that at this time in COVID, when all of us are struggling, right, when we've been cooped up inside of our houses, where everyone's been cooped up inside of their houses, that Meghan felt that her cooped up was something special in Windsor Castle, that the home which was purchased for her in Santa Barbara by Prince Charles, right? The Prince Charles purchased that home for the couple so they could live there. This wasn't an animosity member. They sort of ran away and they didn't have any money. No one helped them, right? This was a pot of gold left by Diana, which accrued money over a long period of time. This was a young lady and a young man who have great ability to make money in the press and who weren't homeless necessarily and who were sort of experiencing life as people, as all of us experience life. So absolutely, the stress of being royal is real, and the stress of entering that world and losing a child and all those things play into that. And I think a lot of the mental illness that she described for herself that she wanted help for could be ascribed to those things she was going to. But I think it's very important that we not look to people first as racist within an establishment simply because we don't receive the help that we want. And I think sometimes as a community, we sometimes in this charged moment in atmosphere in life first say, racism is the reason. And sometimes there's a lot of other reasons, like, I don't know, there's a statute that's been there for several hundred years. So the press, they were racist, absolutely, foul. The family itself acted for her the same way they acted for every other member of the institution who was not going to become queen.
Okay. So a few different questions here that I know are going through our minds. And we don't even have a lot of time. So this first.
Right.
Do you believe that it is possible for the royal family to be a part of a monarchy that has been responsible for the mass global colonization, right, of continents, countries, etc., right, and not inherit or be or recognize any form of racism within themselves?
I think if we were to point our finger in that direction, we have to also point the four back at ourselves, right? So if we trace our lineage back to Africa, if we are people of African descent, we can say that some Africans sold members of other villages into slavery, into the Western world of slavery, that there were those who were captured and those who were sold by our kinfolk into an oppressive system, which was horrible. And perhaps maybe when the first ship left, they didn't know, but by the 14th and 15th and years of ships leaving Africa, the coast of the Ivory Coast, they knew that they were selling them into an oppressive system. So are we the sins of our fathers?
But do you equate that as being one and the same with what the royal family is tied to and accountable for?
I don't think that I could blame you for an ancestor selling someone into slavery any more than I could blame them for Leopold's Congo. Just because a distant third cousin did X, Y, and Z, or someone in your family was a slave owner, or someone was a slave, I don't judge you today based upon your ancestors' history and what they did. I expect you to behave with a conscience, without malice. I expect you to stand up for things which are right and just in the world today. I would certainly expect those things of you, but I would never hold you accountable for your family's history, you personally.
Got you. And so when it comes to Meghan Markle, I mean, specifically, which, you know, you've been on the show before in Loves. If you're not familiar, David Alexander Jenkins joins us bi-weekly, right, to discuss all things royal and more. But you've, you know, spoken to the fact, just as you did earlier, that certainly the press in the UK, which just social media in itself had said, how is anyone surprised? The UK stands for the originals, and being spelled with a UH, original Karens.
Dear. I can't.
Gotta love the internet.
Bye.
But they said UK stands for original Karens. You know, like okay.
You gotta go.
Because that one really cracked me up. No, but you know, you've spoken to the fact that you don't necessarily
I mean,
the press was fair, but also that how, like, there's some level of, okay, sis, you didn't know, you didn't have any idea of what you were getting into.
No, that's not real. That's not real. Like, I want to say that's not real. And I haven't spoken to one person who believes that's real. People are like, well, but yeah, okay, but then there was this. First of all, you are an American who grew up in the world of Hollywood on the Al Bundy show stage, because your father was the lighting director for that. So, like, talk about growing up in the industry. You did not go into a grocery store, a 7-Eleven, a convenience store. If you told us that you worked at some of these places, Diana's face was plastered on every magazine. Her accident was everywhere. That child's messed up whatever, and the tabloid press was everywhere. So it is impossible. And we have pictures of you on the gate of Buckingham Palace like, one day I'm coming here. So we know that that's not real. I want us to stop telling that lie. We know it's a lie. I understand she has to tell it because it's part of the way that she walked herself into that family in that room, and it's something she said she could stick with it. I applaud her for that. Like, that's her story. She's thinking, I find it to be craziness. You find it, everybody finds it to be craziness. You tell us that you Google everything, including the national anthem and the songs and this and the other. We can ask Harry to verify that. So we know that you Google this too. You're an actress. That's what you do. You Google, you study for the role.
All right, wait. We had a whole moment about that the last time we talked.
But we know
about
that's real, right? So you study for the role.
What point in the interview these things came up?
You study for the role.
I do want to ask you this though. Darn.
She came, so to get back to your question, right? She came from America during the era of Donald Trump, right? Where we had nasty, nasty right-wing press all day long about racism, right? She moved to England to a press which is known to be nasty, especially when it comes to issues of racism, sexuality, feminism, weight. I mean, just anything they can pick on you for in the UK, the press does it, and they have no bounds, right? So you went to that pit bull room and you dealt with that there. To escape the nastiness of the British press and their racism, you came back to a Donald Trump America.
Well, first to Canada, and then Canada, coronavirus hits, and then it's all right, we don't want to get stuck up here.
Let's be honest, right? You left Canada because Canada said we will not foot the bill for you and your security team. So then you left the UK, Canada, and you decided you were going to move back home, where we had the vitriol of cities burning down about racism, where names and people were being murdered and shot because they were black, where the height of racism in America, again, was playing out. This was your escape from the racist world of London. I'm not there with you. I feel like the Disney deal. I feel like the Disney deal was more important.
This is why we have healthy discourse.
I feel like the Netflix deal was real. Netflix was helping you. They were like, we're going to pay you. Absolutely, I'll move there. I'll see you next week.
So, I know we got to get ready to wrap up. I am curious to get your thoughts because,
we're going to hear it.
Some of our folks don't be feeling you and your opinions.
I know, I understand. But I want us to think about it objectively.
Right. No, and listen, we're here for the discourse. But we saw Piers Morgan.
Yes.
quite frankly, get gathered
Right.
by
He
of his
needed to be
tone.
gathered. He
Yeah,
needed to be
I was
gathered.
about to say, did you feel like he like that was just? And
He
then
was.
we also are now seeing the fallout of Sharon Osbourne over on The View,
I don't.
who made some
Right.
interesting comments
So
tied
right.
to
So
defense.
Piers Morgan, his opinion, I could have tolerated had he said it in a way which was not nasty, vile, full of vitriol and hatred and disgust and ism. Right? He presented his opinion in the most horrific way. The most horrific way. He could have said everything he wanted to say about Meghan Markle and his distrust for her, his personal relationship with her via his dating life, his understanding of who she was. He could have said all those things in a way that was kind and palatable and could have disagreed with her. He chose to be disgusting. So he needed to be gathered for his nasty nature. Sharon Osbourne, who is a friend of his, said, I agree with his opinion. I don't necessarily agree with the way it was displayed, but I agree with his opinion, and I don't know that cancel culture is the way to deal with that. I don't think Sharon Osbourne should have triggered somebody because she defended someone. So I feel like, Cheryl, if you were triggered because Sharon Osbourne had an opinion about a friend who was fired. I feel like you need to go gather yourself and
So you didn't get
examine that
any
moment.
white tears from Sharon in that moment.
Sharon, this is Sharon Osbourne. Can we talk about the lady who married the man who bit the bat's head off? This is the lady who sent shit in the Tiffany's box to say you're fired to somebody. This is what I'm sorry.
FCC.
Right. So she sent dog feces in a Tiffany's box to tell people on her former show that they were fired. Right. This is the personality that they hired for this show, Sharon Osbourne. Let's talk about Sharon Osbourne.
So is that not all the more reason?
This is what she said. Like, why is this shocking to us? Why did this trigger you? You sit here every day with a woman with extraordinarily strong opinions about all things in life. Sometimes,
Well, no, I mean, what was your take on how Cheryl handled it? Because I thought
she was professional in the moment, but what she said later on was she was so triggered by this moment, and I was like, why are you? I couldn't understand why she was triggered. That would be like me saying I'm triggered because someone on the street used the N-word. While I think it's obscene and hideous and ugly, I live in today's America as a reality.
No, that's not why I thought. That's not why I would have interpreted why she was triggered.
Why was she triggered?
Because one of the things Cheryl acknowledged was that, and she said that in the course of their conversation was, I'm trying to have a conversation with someone who I view as my friend.
Right.
And I want to make sure folks who are viewing us having this conversation, number one, are not quick to jump on you and call you a racist.
Right.
Right. But number two, that like I'm talking to my friend.
Right.
And for whatever reason, whatever their friendship or relationship is, whatever energy Cheryl seemed to feel that she was getting from Sharon was something that did not seem to be authentic to or like in line with whatever their friendship was. So it was like, wait a minute.
I think there's this moment that we have discussed, which we see a lot of times between Caucasian people and African American people and other people who necessarily don't feel that they themselves have ism with them, right? Because we know that black people can be just as racist towards white people, that white people can be just as racist towards black people, right? We've got this thing that goes on back and forth.
I have to disagree there.
I hear within circles all the time from black people the vile and disgusting things about white people, and they think it's appropriate to say because they have the right to say it. I think it's just as disgusting when it's said from black people as when it's said from white people. So that being said, I think there are moments in which white people put their hairs up and go, whoa, you just called me racist. You're just saying you're trying to defend me from being racist. I'm not saying anything that's racist at all. What I'm saying is I support my friend's statement and its opinion about Meghan Markle. And I think that there are some people who look at Meghan Markle as a silly girl who got into a situation she couldn't handle. I think that's their right. I don't think that every person who thinks she's a silly girl who's in a situation, or a manipulative girl who's in a situation, right? That we hear both of these things. We hear this all the time. I don't think that every person who thinks that is a racist. And I think that it's really sad that every time someone says something bad about Meghan Markle, it must be because she's black. I celebrate her blackness. I think some of her actions are ridiculous. Ridiculous from the standpoint of she's a princess in the United Kingdom who has a role to fulfill. So I think that she can be supported, and I think that when things are said about her which are vile and disgusting about her race, that is 100% that should be dealt with in the place it's supposed to be dealt with, in the basket that it belongs to. And we have to remember that in the UK, everything has a basket. And it gets dealt with only in that basket. Nobody else from another basket is going to help you with your basket. That's a separate basket, right? So that's a whole cultural thing in the UK, which is why a lot of UK people are having that issue.
So let's take a call really quick. I believe we have Iola on line 4 who has a comment or thoughts around this conversation that we're having. Iola, are you there? Oh,
No.
okay. So I think we may have lost her. So I'll tell you what. Let's give your final thoughts at this point with where things are right now and where you think things go from here.
Harry's got to return home to open up a memorial for his mom. And so he and William will have quite a chat, I think, coming up to talk about what was going on in their family and this and the other. I do agree with the statement that came out that says they're going to deal with this as a private family matter. It's a private family matter. I think that there are places to air your dirty laundry. I don't think you air anybody's family secrets on national television, international television around the world with Oprah. I just think that that's a trashy move, no matter who does it, when they do it. I think Samantha Markle's trashy when she does it. I think it's trashy when anyone does it. I thought Diana was particularly having a moment when she chose to tell about people's affairs and their sexual activity on TV. Like, there's just some things you just don't talk about on the interview. Fine. That being said, I do believe that Meghan Markle deserves all the help that she has asked for her mental stability and for her thriving in her future, and that Harry deserves all the help he's asked for his thriving in the future as well. And so I wish them both well as they seek a relationship which thrives in the United States of America. They need to reconcile that, and they need to revisit how that went for them and look at what that means for them going forward. But I would say that when you are a member of a royal family, which is a ruling house, there are some things that come along with that. And if you've got some questions about the pressure that you're going to receive, call Michelle Obama. Call some of these other people who dealt with this. Ask them what it was like for them. Compare notes. And I think that there's a really great example for you about how to handle your life.
You are something else. Let me see. Let me go check this.
Listen.
Y'all, listen, let me go check these Facebook Live comments. Over on WURD TV, let me come in here. Shout out to Mother. She said, I am entertained. Malcolm said, no, dude, racism does not work both ways. Lynn said, I respect your opinion, David, but if my sanity was under attack, I would have been out of there, and they are in the right place with friends that love them, and they're rich and can pay for security, and Biden is now no more Trump. Malcolm also added bigotry does not equal racism. I think that is meant to say. Howard said the Duchess and Prince are in a good standing in my heart. They could have played the pretenses and kissed donkey behind to stay in his country and had whatever they wanted, money beyond belief. They did not leave that for no doggone reason. Just think, I want the best for them, and that guy in the end is because he can't swallow his pride that a black woman turned him down and now is a part of royalty. Pierce Morgan.
Right. Yeah.
So that's some of the
Right. So Pierce Morgan is a member of the British aristocracy. He's been part of that, right, for a long time. So I think that's the first thing. He's always going to defend the British aristocracy. That's where he comes from. The understanding, and absolutely, I'd say 100% they are in a better place where they are if that's what they wish. If they wish to have a more regular life, that's where they are. I just don't feel bad for you. I wish you well in your regular life, but I don't feel bad for you when you are a princess or a prince of a land, and that comes with responsibilities that you don't happen to like, and then you kick and cry in a Great Depression of the world where everybody is locked down in their house and tell me that you can't go anywhere and you can't go to lunch with your friends, and that's depressive. And I hear you, and I understand that, and I have empathy for the moment, but I'm glad that you took the emphasis, as you said, to move. And here you are, and I wish you well in this world. And I want you to go on and thrive and survive and talk to your friends who are in large positions like this all around the world, a.k.a. Michelle Obama, and ask her how she dealt with being called the N-word and a monkey. And how did she deal with the birther movement? And what are these things? And how do you go on in these moments of big life when you feel like you want to be able to express yourself, but you're not in the world position where that's always looked upon graciously? So I think she has a lot of examples of people she can reach out to and talk to. And I think that she's a grown woman who can make decisions about her life. But in that decision-making comes the responsibility and the consequences with that decision. So here we are.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've been chatting with David Alexander Jenkins. We like to talk pop culture, the royals, all of that good stuff, just to keep a pulse on what's happening out here in in this world. And yeah, whether you agree or not, it's always good for conversation. And of course, always rooted in the perspectives that we need to keep in the forefront of our minds as we think about the future that we are trying to build, not only here in the U.S., but across the world for our community, for humanity, and beyond. So, David, thank you so much for joining us. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. But when we come back on the other side, I'll be welcoming our final guest, Amadi Braxton, who many of you may know is a host here on WURD Radio. We're going to talk a bit about her op-ed from the Philadelphia Inquirer. If you have not had a chance to check that out, I will make sure to drop that and our Facebook live stream. It's called Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium's 24-hour clinic is not a feel-good story. She'll share a bit about why that is the case for her and for others who have identified going through a similar experience, and respond to some of the criticism that she has received as a result of this op-ed. So do stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. And as always, we appreciate you for saving space on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM. If you want to stay connected with David Alexander Jenkins, make sure you just look up his name, right? David Alexander Jenkins on across social media platforms to continue the conversation, because we could talk all night about this, but we got to make sure we save time to welcome our next guest. So do follow him, and we'll be back after these messages.
The Mattress Man is a second-generation family-owned mattress specialist business since 1988. Open 7 days a week, located at 7421 Stanton Avenue. The Mattress Man discounts Serta, memory foam, orthopedic, and Comfort Tech mattresses every day. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure you get the best price and best service. The Mattress Man offers same-day delivery on most models to most areas. Ask about the WURD discount. Call 215-424-5550.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter.
WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. Join us as we embark on a 3-city contest that will highlight Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate yourself or your favorite Black woman-owned business and enter to win a marketing campaign valued at $5,000. Level Up is a joint production of WURD Radio in Philadelphia, WVON in Chicago, and KJLH in Los Angeles. These 3 Black-owned stations are joining forces to host a historic, interactive, and multimedia contest spotlighting Black women-owned businesses in Philly, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Philadelphia finalists will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air pitch party on March 31st, where the Philadelphia winner will be selected. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information or to nominate yourself or a Black woman-owned business you love.
Breaking news. There's still time. WURD Radio has extended the deadline for the 2021 Level Up contest until March 19th. If you have a favorite Black woman-owned business or are one yourself, visit wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner. You can nominate your own business or one that you love. And stay tuned to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Brought to you by Bank of America, Comcast, Pico, Keystone First, Thomas Jefferson University, and Jefferson Health.
Philly Peace in Progress nonprofit organization was started to create a positive change and bring awareness to the growing drug and gun violence in Philadelphia. Philly Peace in Progress is looking for volunteers to make a change with organized programs, mentoring, problem solving, conflict resolution, and more. If you are interested, email Nelson at phillypeaceinprogress.com or call 267-529-7255.
It's Women's History Month, and we want to honor Black women authors by helping you level up and read up. Join the Forward movement and get a free copy of a book from one of the most influential Black women today. For a limited time, you can add The Little Book of Big Lies by Tina Lifford, She Came to Slay by Erica Dunbar, Sing Unburied Sing, a novel by Jesmyn Ward, or Acts of Faith by Jan Van Zant to your reading collection. Level up and read up. Go to wordradio.com/join now to join or renew your Forward membership and get your free book today. Are you looking for a job? Do you have skills in design, engineering, or computer programming? Get ready for Network, a virtual job fair with Technically Media. On Thursday, March 18th from noon to 6 p.m., the employers at Network are looking to learn more than just what's on your resume. Your personality and fit have real weight in the interviews. Technically is a partner of WURD Radio's Livelihood Initiative. Register for Network, the virtual tech job fair taking place on March 18th at WURDworks.com.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. Grab your mic. It's time for Kayla J's Karaoke Song of the Day.
If God took me away today, I pray I did everything I could to honor you. And when I open my eyes, there's joy each day. What a blessing, I'm waking up next to you. Your kisses are a sweet surprise. Still can't believe you're in my life. The impossible is possible because of you. I will love you past forever. I'll do anything for you. I will do anything for you. Heart and soul. I'll do anything for you. You are my life. My life. What means us to. Yeah, yeah. I'll do anything for you. Time. Don't wanna waste no.
You're back listening to Safe Space on WURD Radio 96.1 FM 900 AM. Shout out to all the folks who are tuned in over on WURD TV via our Facebook live stream. If you have not already, please do make sure you start a watch party or share the live stream. Text your folks if you're over on wordradio.com. Just send them that link, right, and let them know to tune in. Shout out to all our Forward members. If you are not already a member, you can head to wordradio.com to start or renew your membership right now. And I mean, what other better month besides Black History Month, which quite frankly is Black History 365, 366, depending on the year, is better to, start or renew your membership, right? Because WURD Radio is a Black woman-owned and led entity. And we currently have our Level Up contest that is running right now. The deadline initially to either self-nominate or nominate a Black woman-owned business, a Black woman who is an entrepreneur, innovator, was March 15th, right? So yesterday, but it was extended. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even know why, because the amount of nominations that we received, we got work to do, y'all. Okay, to go through all these nominations and to figure this out. But I think, like I said before, that for me, what it says is what it clearly states is that the station is truly committed to celebrating Black woman-owned businesses. And please do not take that lightly, right? We have an amazing prize package that is available to our winners. We have a pitch party that's happening on March 31st. We'll be doing a takeover, a 2-hour takeover, right, for the Safe Space show on March 31st. So please do nominate yourself or a Black woman-owned business that you know, so that we can make this thing pop as it should, okay? If you have followed the Level Up contest and its evolution, this has truly been just, I think, something that the community has done purely from the muscle across 3 cities, Philly, Chicago, and LA. So shout out to WVON in Chicago, and shout out to KJLH out in LA for, you know, just this partnership and this opportunity to really lift up Black women and to lift up Black business, right? And to make sure that when we say buy Black, it's not just something that we're stating, it's something that we're doing, right? But with that said, I want to make sure we get to our phone lines so that we can clear those before we welcome our final guest of the evening. So let's go to Carlos on line 1, who has been patiently waiting. Carlos, thank you for your patience. What's on your mind, real quick?
Yeah, I've been waiting for an hour and 2 minutes and some seconds. And yeah.
This is why we love you.
Yeah, did you watch the? How did you like the Grammys Sunday? Because I'm getting some feedback. I'm hearing that who's in charge of the Grammy organization? Looks like they saying that was disrespectful and nasty with them doing that stuff on stage, knowing children was watching. Because I'm like this, and I agree with them on this one day. That if this would have been back in the 1970s, they would have pulled all them girls off the stage, took back those rewards, and told me to get the heck out of the building.
I mean, I think it's. I appreciate that. I think it's interesting because, you know, when mainstream society doesn't want the very thing that it profits off of being on display on its stages is always very interesting to me, right? Black music in general around the world is like the biggest driver of dollars in the industry, as far as genres are concerned. So it's you know, you look at the root of things, and it's always interesting to me that you don't want this on your stages, but you want these dollars in your pocket and you benefit from it. And up until you were called out about the fact that you did not want to respect certain genres, but you wanted to make money off of them, but you did not want to honor them, everything was good, right? And so 2020 brought about a shift in industries across the board, right? Whether it was tech, whether it was retail, music, so on and so forth. So that's always interesting to me. I mean, I have seen definitely the social media reactions to, you know, trying to figure out, all right, is this the Grammys or is this the BET Awards or whatever else the case, whatever else the snarky comments and stuff may have been. But I'm gonna be honest, with the Grammys in particular, I'm not giving them too many passes. I'm not giving them too many passes on getting to say what is and is not okay, because the problem is y'all had too many passes on saying what was and was not okay, but you were benefiting from the artists who you had no interest in actually honoring. So there's that. But anyhow, let's go ahead and make sure we check in with one of our other callers, Eugene on line 3. Hey, Eugene, thank you so much for choosing a safe space with us today. Really briefly, what's on your mind?
Oh, thank you, Sarita. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Just fine. Couple things. As an atheist, I have problems with the concept of being thankful or giving thanks. You know, it has a lot of religious undertones or underwriting to it. And recently in my block, North 56th Street, there's been several shootings and murders. And I've been seeing, like bullets and spent rounds on the ground. Going to your guest, the British monarchy to me stinks of racism. I've talked with many British blacks and black Caribbeans that have lived in England, some of them for decades, and they say that England is also very racist. And the skinheads started over there, and they have attacked and killed blacks along with British cops. So the situation is pretty parallel over there. I mean, it's not a gun culture so much, but, they got knives and other weapons. So it's, I don't have any admiration for England, even though
Gotcha.
our country was at one time under their rule. Okay, Sarita, thank you. Keep up the
Wait,
great
Eugene,
work
can I ask you something really quickly,
Surely.
just to learn more about your perspective? You said that, or you shared, and thank you for that, that you are atheist, and so with that, for you at least, there comes some kind of reservation around being thankful or practicing gratitude. So I'm curious and wanting to better understand.
To me, the whole thing about the religious propaganda is the fear of death. That you should be thankful to some, in my view, some false higher power. And I'm originally from New York, and a lot of the preachers there, they just are not better than the gangsters. Their thing is get the money. And there's been all kinds of child abuse, rape, and what have you. So, I see that, and I don't want to be part of that.
Gotcha. So can I ask you this?
Sure, ask me whatever.
Yeah, is there ever any instance where maybe it's not, being thankful or practicing gratitude, simply just cherishing folks that are in your life, or opportunities that have come to you? Is that
I'll put it this
some
way,
part of your practice?
I'm grateful to my mother and some other relatives and very close friends, but this whole thing of being fearful, grateful, worshiping, in my mind, false powers, and this whole religious topic. Look at Ghana, for instance. Ghana is a black nation, and the Muslims and the so-called Christians, they've killed each other. And it's the same thing in India with Hindus and Muslims and Ireland, Catholics and Protestants. So,
Gotcha.
To me, I view religion as very divisive, and to me, it feeds people a lot of false hope and propaganda.
Gotcha. Well, listen, I appreciate that, Eugene. And just in general, Loves, when we do Thankful Tuesday, I want to make sure it's clear that it's not necessarily like rooted in some kind of religious belief. It's more so just about the practice of cherishing, right? Of recognizing and honoring the people or the opportunities, or if you believe in miracles or not, if you believe in God or not, being able to save space for making it clear that, okay, this is something, or this is someone who I recognize is of value to my life. And literally, gratitude is not attached to religion. And so I want to make sure that I can clearly communicate that, because I want to make sure that if you're Eugene or any other person, right, who may tune into the show and choose to save space with us, that number one, you're welcome, okay? And that number two, we're all on this journey together, regardless of what our religious or non-religious beliefs may be. I think regardless of religion, there is always space that can be saved for gratitude. You don't have to be religious to do that. That is my personal belief. But I also just want to make sure I speak to that very explicitly, because something I have always been mindful of is the fact that we do not all believe the same thing, right? That we do not all believe that there is a creator or a God or whatever it may be, or the same kind of creator or the same kind of God. And that in itself is beautiful and speaks to the vastness that humanity is and embodies, and how much better are we because of our differences and because of the fact that we can bring our respective experiences to the table and find some point of commonality. And I think, at least for me, in interacting with folks who are religious or not, spiritual or not, gratitude has always been one of those spaces that commonality has been able to be experienced. And certainly I am definitely open to, and continue to remain open to, like, learning and better understanding if that's not the case. But just want to make sure I make it clear that that is the case around here, in terms of wanting to connect and wanting to make sure that we're all empathizing, empowering, and evolving, regardless of our backgrounds and whatever else the case may be. So with that said, I want to go ahead and welcome our next guest, because last week, on Thursday, the op-ed came up, a Philadelphia Inquirer op-ed came up in conversation. And that op-ed is titled "The Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium's 24-Hour Clinic is Not a Feel-Good Story." Op-ed, of course, being an opinion. And there were folks who did not agree with that opinion. And there were folks who did, right? Some folks felt it was not timely. I've seen it shared on social media. I don't even know that I can count at this point how many times. But regardless of social media, it came up in a conversation with myself and Ernest Owens, who is the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists and editor-at-large for the Philadelphia Magazine. I encouraged you all yesterday to go ahead and read that op-ed prior to coming to this space today, so that if you were going to engage in this conversation, you could do so from an informed and educated standpoint, and being able to be very clear and where you stand on this, and to be able to add something to the conversation. And so in the midst of that conversation happening with Ernest, I literally, we can check timestamps here, was like writing this email to Amadi, because there were some very sharp criticisms that were delivered, not just from Ernest, but that I've also seen on social media. And knowing that some of those criticisms had made their way to the Safe Space airwaves, for me, from a point of integrity, it simply was only right that Amadi have space and opportunity to join us on the show, that we save space for her perspective and for her opinion on the matter, and to be able to respond to whatever criticism that has been handed down, but more importantly, for context and better understanding what she penned for the Philadelphia Inquirer, why she did it, and what ultimately her hope is for that. Amadi and I have talked or connected via email, and we also did a pre-screen call. That happened, today is Tuesday. I'm keeping up with my pandemic days. Today is Tuesday, so that I believe happened yesterday. But in the course of that happening, at no point was there any discussion about the questions that would be asked. If anything, the question that was asked was, what was important to her for folks to understand, and us both having a very clear understanding of what we wanted to make sure happened with this interview. And we were both on the same page about that, that her perspective was honored and that she was given space to speak on this op-ed. And so with that said, Amadi, I want to thank you so much for joining us, especially as a, as a fellow WURD radio host. And I also, just want to acknowledge the fact that anytime you put your opinion or your experiences out there, it can very much so be subject to criticism. And, whether you wanted to or not, it comes with what it comes with. And that's something that I gathered from our call you were very aware of, but I don't want to speak for you. So with that said, thank you for choosing to save space with us today, for accepting the invitation. For folks who may be meeting you for the first time, can you just, let them know a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on and for, creating space for me to share my perspective after hearing, criticism and some pushback on my op-ed. I really appreciate you giving me the space to give more information and context. So I am 50 years old. I'm a host of Solutions on WURD on Fridays from 5 to 7 p.m. I live in West Powelton neighborhood in West Philadelphia. And I've been, I guess in my other hustle is I work as a consultant with a small consulting firm called Dragonfly Partners, and we help social change organizations make their change work more effective. So working with a lot of organizations who are working on issues of racial justice, civil rights, human rights, reproductive justice, all sorts of things. So that's what I do, and a lot of that work I do is helping organizations center racial equity in their institutions and undo white supremacy, white supremacist culture in their organizations. So, I do that. I also have a background in filmmaking. I have the radio gig that I do, and but I think my history is really as an activist. So I think it was my activist history that part of me that really came through in me wanting to write the op-ed.
Yeah. So just so our listeners are clear, when I reached out to you in the email, or at least the series of emails, I sent you the link to the conversation that Ernest and I had. And of course, by then you were already seeing feedback from social media, as it is my understanding. So I want to make sure we are intentional in creating a space for you to very clearly kind of address the criticism that you have received, and that folks understand the purpose and your intention behind the op-ed. So first and foremost, your response to the criticism about your op-ed.
Well, I think I was expecting some of that. I think most of the response has been that I am criticizing a Black group that is out there to help Black people, and that I should not be doing that. I think there's a sense of disloyalty or something that I portrayed in my op-ed, that I'm not supporting this group that is working as volunteers to do their best to right a wrong, which is basically that the city has neglected Black people in this COVID fight. And people don't like that. People don't like me speaking out negatively about this organization that is working very hard. So I understand that. And I think, and I think because there has been so much positive news coverage of the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, people, I think, maybe were shocked to hear a different perspective, and that caused some reaction. Yeah, so, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as the shock is concerned, do you feel that the shock was that there was this different perspective of the work that the Black Doctors Consortium was doing that was surprising to folks? Or was it that it was a Black person who was bringing that perspective to the table for it to be considered?
I think that me being Black is what is upsetting to people. That how could I do that to this? How could I speak out against this Black group that's trying to do right for Black people? So I think that certainly plays into how people are reacting. You know, I mean, the reason, should I talk about my reason for writing it, or?
I was going to say, like, I think
Yeah.
that's a good place to transition to is, like, first of all, is that something that you anticipated, right, when thinking about writing this piece? But more so, what was it for you that brought about this decision or this need to pen this op-ed and to tell a different perspective of the story?
Well, as you know, for people who read the op-ed, you'll know that I have a very rare lung disease. And so for me to get COVID would be a death sentence. And if you also read the op-ed, you know that I waited in the cold for 12 hours to receive my vaccine under very brutal conditions, dehumanizing conditions. And as I was out there with hundreds and hundreds of other people, hour by hour, I was thinking, why don't I just leave? Why am I, this is my inner monologue or dialogue with myself. Why am I staying on this line? Why am I staying on this line? And part of it was because I felt a kind of desperation to be vaccinated. And I also felt like I needed to tell the story. I needed to have this experience for whatever reason, higher forces, higher power, God, whatever you believe, were telling me to stay in line, because my logical brain was saying, you don't have to do this. You should not do this. This is insane that you would have to wait this long in the cold. So anyway, I think that was part of what ended up motivating me. But I did not even know consciously that I would pen this story when I was on the line. I think it was a few days after I had the experience, and it was just still sitting with me. There's something not right about what happened. There's something not right about the treatment that we received who were waiting on the line that compelled me to put pen to paper and get my feelings out. And then in talking with friends and family, I said, well, maybe I should try to publish this. So that's kind of the sequence. Yeah. But I would say that, you know, this is a complex issue. And a lot of times it's hard for us because of the way we're trained by mainstream media. It's hard for us to hold opposing things at the same time, opposing ideas at the same time in our mind. On the one hand, in the op-ed, I'm trying to say that the Black Doctors COVID Consortium is really the group that has stepped up to fill this huge gap in healthcare equity that exists in this city. There's you know, the healthcare system is a racist system, and it systematically has left Black people literally out in the cold. And you know, we saw the Black doctors step in last year to do testing because not enough Black people were getting tested, and there wasn't enough access to testing for Black people in this city. I was really happy and proud to see that they had stepped in to do that. And then when it came time for the vaccination rollout, they stepped up and said, okay, we're going to now take this on. And I think in the case of the 24-hour vaccination clinic that I took part in, they took on too much. And the result was that you had people with serious health conditions and elders out in the cold for hours and hours and hours and hours on end with no communication. We weren't allowed to use the bathrooms in Leah Cora Center. And people were really suffering out in the cold, including myself. But other people were suffering more than me. And there was no regard for our humanity. There was no regard for our, you know, the fact that we were basically out in the cold in low 30s. And when it got dark, the temperature dropped even more. For 12 hours, I was online. And they were not prepared to take on that big of a project, and they needed help. And so on the one hand, I'm saying you did not have proper logistics planning for that, and people suffered, and that's a fact. And at the same time, they should have had more support. They should have had more money. The city should have been out there helping with logistics, or other organizations helping with logistics. Temple University should have had security out there. There was no security whatsoever for you know, all night for people who were on that line. There should have been more done to support people to have to stand in line. There should have been more, you know, when I went in finally I got my vaccine at 1 a.m. after having arrived there at 11 a.m. There were only 3 people vaccinating us. You know?
So for you, it sounds like it's not that it's an either or, but it's a matter of both and in terms of where accountability, how accountability is distributed. I want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's both. It's that the city has utterly failed in its duty by our tax dollars to provide equal and equitable access to both COVID testing, COVID vaccination, healthcare in general. I mean, there's a whole long list we could go down of what the city has not done for Black people in the city. However, you know, they should be providing, if the Black Doctors COVID Consortium has the track record of bringing up testing numbers in the Black community, vaccinating the most Black people of all the sites in the city, they should be supported by the city. They should be funded to do that. And at the same time, the Black doctors who had been, you know, the 24-hour vaccination clinic that I went to was not their first day of vaccinations. They had been vaccinating people, I believe, in the previous couple of weeks. And they did not properly scale up their operation to deal with the volume that they were trying to do, and people suffered as a result. And so, you know, it's just not acceptable for me to think that you can have people out in the cold, not allowing them to come in and use the bathrooms in the facility, and also having no communication. That was the worst part for me, actually, is that there was at no point did people come out really and communicate with us on the line throughout the day about what we could expect, you know, what the wait time they thought would be. It was like they were ignored. And you know, when you're in a situation, and I know people listening, when you're in a situation, like if you've worked in a restaurant or if you've worked in certain situations where you get overwhelmed and inundated with activity, right, going on that you have to respond to, it's your job to respond to, sometimes it's hard to stop and change course. And I think that they were not able to do that in the 24-hour clinic.
Gotcha.
So that's what so both of those things, the city failing in its duty, yeah, again, using our tax money, that is a truth. And the treatment of us on the line for 12 hours, that not being acceptable is also a truth. And I think we can hold both of those at the same time and have that kind of complexity in our understanding of the nature of racism in this city and how it operates. Why is it that, you know, part of what also, I'll say one last thing about what motivated me to write. And I say this at the start of my op-ed. I kept seeing article after article praising the Black doctors, and that really contradicted my experience of their work. And what I understood, what I came to see was that all of these white journalists and the white power structure can say, oh, look, the Black doctors are doing such a great job taking care of this problem that we don't want to deal with, of how to get equal access for Black people. We'll just wipe our hands or wash our hands of the problem. They're taking care of it, so we don't have to do anything. And that's
let
what
me
I was reading from the press coverage. It was like, oh, look, the blacks are taking care of the blacks. Let's give them a hand clap and move on.
got you. So in keeping that in mind, especially I think for some folks that may be adding another layer of awareness, was that at any point something for you that triggered an idea or a thought of, this is the way that mainstream media, white media, or white-owned media has been telling this story and not focusing on this bigger issue of, right, like the systemic racism that exists. And so with that, let me go ask Dr. Ayla Stanford or one of their team members, let me bring their voice into the fold. Because I think that for some folks, that is a part of what was missing in the op-ed, was that, or even a question of, did Amadi reach out to the Black Doctors Consortium to get a quote or to figure out what happened that day, or to even get their thoughts on how they're being written about and discussed and covered in the media prior to you becoming one of the members of the media writing about it, but also potentially not reaching out to them for a story?
You know, it didn't really even cross my mind initially to reach out to them because I felt like they didn't care about my experience because of the way I was treated. And so, you know, I guess I'm technically a member of the media as a co-host, a co-host of a radio show 2 hours a week. You know, I've only recently started to think of myself that way. But I penned this commentary, this opinion piece as a person with a health condition. And so I didn't necessarily see the piece as like an investigative journalism piece. I think I was really just responding to my kind of experience. The emotions of it, the trauma of it, it was a grueling experience. And so I think that's where I was coming from. And it didn't even dawn on me that my voice would have been answered by the Black doctors because, again, of the way I was treated by them out in the cold for 12 hours with no communication, no sense of care for my well-being. Gotcha. I mean, I'll say once I got inside the facility, people were professional and courteous in administering the vaccine. And the reality was they had been working, you know, the woman who registered me before I got my vaccine, the man next to me told her, we'd been outside in the cold for 12 hours. And her response was, I've been on my shift here for 12 hours. So she was exhausted. And, you know, she couldn't muster up sympathy for us because she was also suffering in that circumstance. Anyway, so that's my answer to that.
Got you. So I gotta get ready to wind this down, but I think one of the things that I've noticed in being able to save space to talk to you, like in our pre-screen call and even this conversation that's happening now, and with seeing the responses on social media and so on and so forth, is the either the connection or lack thereof that readers took away from the op-ed, right? And whatever your intention was versus what folks read. How, like, one of the things I seem to like see folks kind of falling on either side of the fence on was this an op-ed that was taking aim and shot at the Black Doctors Consortium, who is trying to fill a gap and a need that the city is not standing up for and is not supporting it? Or is this a shot at, or acknowledgement, whatever, of the city's lack of resources and support of Black doctors who are showing up for their community at a time when the city, for whatever reason that I think a lot of folks are still trying to figure out, like, why it's not the case when we see something like Philly fighting COVID, right? Like that scandal that can unfold, trying to dissect that of what was the aim of this op-ed and the timeliness of it, as it pertains to, the Black community, once again, trying to have to show up for itself because the city won't, or because elected officials or whatever else the case may be won't. And so I want to make sure that, at least by the time that we have to conclude, that folks are very clear about what your intention was in writing this op-ed and what you ultimately hope the outcome will be.
Well, I guess there's two main points. One is the city has a responsibility to provide support to close this racial equity gap that exists in the COVID vaccination, but in healthcare in general, in public health in general in the city, right? I think I mentioned to you yesterday when we spoke, I was moderating a panel about race and debt recently, and if you look at all the neighborhoods on a map where we have the highest COVID cases, they're mostly Black communities. Those are all the same neighborhoods with the high COVID cases that have the highest rates of debt and income inequality. And so there are serious problems that this city has to take responsibility for. At the same time, when we have Black doctors or any other Black group that takes on the task of trying to fill that gap, I don't want them replicating the same oppressive systems that alienate and dehumanize Black people, in the same ways that white supremacist systems do. And so I want the Black doctors to have more support. I think what they're doing, what they're trying to do in their efforts, even though they don't have enough money and support, is good. I want them to be able to continue doing that, but I want them to be able to continue doing it well. That does not leave people out in the cold. And I think that the city should support that. And I guess my other final point in this piece is that we have to demand more of ourselves, and we have to demand that we are centered. We should not continue to assume that we have to be relegated to the margins and we have to be okay with just, whatever we can do for ourselves is acceptable. We have to demand more. The city should be centering us. More resources should be coming to us than other groups because we have been left behind the longest. So, giving us equal treatment is not about giving the same amount of resources to the Black community as it is to the white community. We actually need more resources because we've been so underserved and so under-resourced for so long. So that, I think, is my larger point, that we have to have higher standards and we have to hold people accountable for treating us with the respect that we deserve.
Gotcha. Well, listen, loves, if you are just tuning in, we are well over time, but this is certainly a conversation that I do hope you are able to get, further insight from. It's a conversation that I think is important for us to have within our community, right? When we're thinking about the different barriers that we are facing, whether it's health disparities, our safety, our well-being, jobs, whatever else the case may be, right? These disparities exist. And what does it look like? What does it mean for us when any member of our community decides to speak up or to share an opinion about it? And how do we receive that? How do we engage in healthy and positive, or at least solutions-focused conversations, and where things go from there, and acknowledging, the root of the issue, right? Which I think we can all agree, especially here in Philly, when it comes to COVID-19 testing and vaccinations is most certainly the city's lack thereof action, right, in support of the Black Doctors Consortium. And so I will say, whether you agree with Amadi Braxton's op-ed or not, what was important, at least for me, and Amadi, I've shared this with you, what was important for me tonight was that, number one, Amadi had an opportunity to speak more in depth about her op-ed, which she already did on her show. So it's not like we're doing anything new here. She read the entire op-ed on her show. I believe days after it dropped on a Thursday, and her show airs on Saturday, and she read it there. But knowing that
it's on Friday, my show.
Friday, my apologies.
5 to 7 p.m.
5 to 7 on Fridays. My apology. But, knowing that there was a conversation that took place on Safe Space here, and that for me, knowing what we've worked to make this show be, which is a safe space, that she had that opportunity to come on here and to speak with us and to share a bit about what all kind of contributed to her op-ed and to her perspective on this matter. And again, just like I said earlier, we're all the more better when we can have these kind of conversations with respect and honoring the truths and realities that we have to navigate on a day-to-day basis in the light of racism, white supremacy, oppression, all of these different things, and knowing that we're stronger together more than anything else, right? We really cannot afford to not be anything but that, even if that means that we have difference in opinions. The truth of the matter is that our realities are very much rooted in the same issues and the same problems in terms of oppression. So, Amadi, I do appreciate you for that, for taking the time to join us this evening. And loves, please do make sure you tune in, okay, on Fridays, 5 to 7 p.m. Make sure I get that right and run that back, so that you can check out Amadi Braxton on Solutions here on WURD. And with that, I have to get out of here. Make sure you follow WURD across all radio stations, not radio stations, all across all social media platforms, right? At onWURD over on Facebook, at onWURD over on Instagram and YouTube. Amadi, how can they connect with you, be it email or social media?
Oh, wow. I am on Twitter at Lila B, Lailab, and I'm on Facebook at Amadi Braxton, so they can connect with me that way. They can post comments on our Facebook Live feed on Fridays during Solutions, 5 to 7 p.m. So thank you, Sarita, for giving me the opportunity to share my voice here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you. And much love and appreciation to Kayla J for holding down the phone lines, the board, and everything in between. Make sure you follow her over on Instagram at KALAJ_music nerd. I am sincerely Sarita, SYREETA. Keep your dials locked to 96.1 FM, 900 AM. Up next is Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. We are right back here tomorrow, same time, same place, for another edition of Safe Space. But until then, please do remember, taste your words before you feed them to someone else. And always, 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 y'all, empathize, empower, and evolve. Peace.
You can't change it, right and all, you know that you can't last. They asking who can save me, who can save me, who can save me, know that you can, baby.